All right, good evening, everybody. It is 6 o'clock. We are ready to call the meeting to order. Ms. Dooley, could we get a roll call, please? Oh, sorry.
Yes, Spencer Anderson. Amy Levy.
Here.
Sean Levy.
Present.
Megan Miller.
Present?
Spencer Anderson. Okay, roll call confirms that Spencer is absent.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Before we get started, just a quick announcement. We are meeting tonight, of course, as we're about to approve the agenda to interview for a new board member vacancy for somebody to fill that position. And we do now have 2 more vacancies as board member John Wong and board clerk Maria Delgado have stepped down for various reasons. And so this will be a sneak preview of a next round of these to come. So hang tight. All right, so at this time, we are on item 1C, approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any comments or thoughts or would like to make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. And actually, I just have a comment that before we convene with the board member interview and decision, the first thing that we're going to do actually, so I don't know if we need to amend the agenda, is to do a final selection of the questions. So I'm not sure how we want that to reflect on the agenda or in the minutes.
That can be part of the interview process, so setting up for the interview.
Perfect, just wanted to clarify. All right, so if there are no other comments or questions, all in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes, which brings us now to item 2, board member interview and decision. So thank you, candidates, for being here. We're going to take the next probably 10 or 15 minutes and just refine. We have a bank of questions, and we'll be asking both of you the same questions, but we're going to take a few minutes to determine which questions those are. So thanks for hanging out. All right, so board member Levy, do you want to start off with which questions you'd like to ask?
Sure.
Okay.
So I'm actually pulling from both of the documents that were sent out. I will start with the vacancy questions of 2019. Do you just want us to give us our top 2, or how do we want to handle this?
Yeah, well, just start with the one that you want to ask.
Okay, so I will go with number 6. How else are you engaged in our community, and is any of your experience relevant to serving on the board? So number 6, please. And are we round robin, or should I give you my next one as well?
Okay, you can go ahead.
Okay, so I will jump to the new vacancy document. And I want to, let me find it, amend number 16. Are you able to commit a minimum of 2 nights per month for board meetings and possible extra days for special meetings? Are you comfortable with reading documents thoroughly for comprehension, sometimes on a short time frame, and arriving at meetings fully prepared to professionally engage and execute the business of the school district of Beloit?
Great, and so would you mind?
Should I just email this?
Could
to
you
Dr.
email that
Kieser?
to Dr. Kieser, and then he'll put it in our document that then we'll, and are you cool just printing a final copy for all of us?
Yeah,
But we'll give it a minute.
I'm trying to download the other version of their
Sure.
items.
Okay, well, and as long as Vice President Levy, like I'm fine with that. Vice President Levy, are you good with those 2 questions for that board member Levy is going to ask?
Yes, fine.
All right, perfect. Okay, so we're going to give Dr. Kieser a minute.
And
Go ahead.
actually, I'm going to add on that because as I'm rereading my thoughts, that could be a yes, no, and of course, if we want open-ended. So the final portion of that will be, how do you believe you'll manage your schedule to make this happen?
So, there we go. All right, let me get these 2 side by side.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
So from the 2019, which questions do we want to move over?
Number 6. I
Number
think.
6? I'm just going to paste into the top here. And then we're amending which one?
On number 16, on the new vacancy questions, please.
Yeah, it's,
Thank you very much. All right, that sounds good. Vice President Levy, did you have a couple of questions that you'd want to ask?
Yes, but you can go first. I'm still kind of composing here.
No, you're fine. That's okay. No, I did the same thing. I looked these over earlier, didn't jot down the numbers, and now my screen doesn't show numbers, so I just counted. So I'm pretty sure the two question numbers that I want, Dr. Kieser, please correct me. The first one that I liked was I believe is number 10, which is, as a Board of Education member, you will receive input from people representing special groups or interests. Is that your number 10? Oh, you've got 11. Okay, see, my numbers are off. Sorry about that. So I didn't have any modifications to that, so I would select number 11. Another one that I suppose would be number 13, which is, in your opinion, what should the relationship between the Board of Education and Superintendent of Schools, I think, be? Or should be the relationship. There it is. Sorry, I missed a word there. So that is number 13 on your document?
in your opinion?
Yeah. Perfect. And then we did want to come up with a total of 7 questions. So Vice President Levy and Board Member Levy, would you both be okay with also including why should you be appointed as member of the Board of Education?
Sure.
Okay, so that would be number 3, I think, Dr. Kieser, on the new.
I'm assuming we want number 1.
Oh, I guess. Yeah.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Have a total of 6 questions selected so far.
Okay. So Vice President Levy, if you want to just ask one, or if you have a second one.
Merge 1 and 3.
I was going to say we could merge 1 and 3 to make room for Vice President Levy to have 2. But I'm going to hand the mic over to you, Vice President Levy. Okay, so number 10.
In some situation.
So the next one would be 15, which is the what do you think are the most pressing challenges? Perfect. Okay, and Board Member Levy, you good with those? All right, fantastic. So at this time, we have selected 7 questions. So we'll go around and take turns asking our respective questions. And we're going to take a brief recess to allow time for us to print that out just so we can make notes and everything. So let me just check the time. It looks like it is now 6:11 p.m. We're going to take a brief recess and reconvene at about 6:20, and then we'll go to our first interview. Does that sound right? Okay, sounds great.
Yep, and then I'll have these ready for board members to review.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right, see you all in a few minutes. Thanks for all your patience. We're going to get started shortly. Did you each make an appointment, or do you want us just to call you up? Matter? All right.
Where's Skittles?
All right, thank you. Oh, thank you, Dr. Keyser, for helping us do that. And at this time, we're going to be back from our recess here. It is actually 6:22 p.m. So since I guess we didn't have like specific appointments made, Ms. Raleigh, do you want to start? All right, sounds great. Do you want to come up to? Looks like there's a spot for you there. Just take a minute. Do you need help with the mic or anything? You're fine.
Yep, got it, great.
Okay, I'll do that.
All right, perfect. Welcome.
Thank
Want to check in and make sure everybody's good here. Hang on 1 sec. Okay. Christine. Perfect. All right, is everybody good to go? Do we need a sec? All right, Ms. Raleigh, are you good?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Well, welcome. Thank you so much for being here this evening. I'm going to start out. We have, as you may have noticed, we have some questions for you tonight. All right. So if you could please tell us a little bit about yourself, your education, work experience, and any other information you'd like to share, and then just tell us why you would like to be appointed as a member of the, or sorry, why you should be appointed as a member of the Board of Education.
Sure. So my name is Christine Raleigh, and I am a mother of 4 kids and a wife. And my education, I have a bachelor's degree in communications from Waldorf University and work experience. So currently, I am a full-time mom and have a small in-home clothing boutique that I've had since 2017. And previous to that, I've had multiple experiences in working in daycares and being a nanny and working at a bank. And yeah, so let's see, any other information you'd like to share? And tell us why you should be appointed. Well, I am a member of the community who believes that it's important to just serve the community to your best ability, and I have a heart for youth and families, and yeah, just in light of especially the hard times we've all went through, I want to do what I can to serve.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Raleigh, thank you so much for your interest and for joining us this evening. We appreciate it. So my question for you is, how else are you engaged in our community, and is any of your experience relevant to serving on the Board of Education?
Sure. So currently, my family attends 2 different religious congregations in the State Line area, and I'm involved in various ministries in those congregations. One way is I serve the kids, and so I think that helps, just keep my eyes open to the youth that are here right now in the present. And because I know sometimes if you're not around little kids or children, you kind of forget and get caught up in your own world and life. And another way, I serve on the worship team, so I lead the music, and I think that can help me. I'm very comfortable being in front of people and speaking and I'm very comfortable with that, which I think would help. Obviously, as you're on the board, you're in front of the whole community. And yeah, that answers the question, I think. So.
Thank you.
In some situations, you may be asked to accept a reality that is contrary to your own beliefs. As a Board of Education member, you may cast a minority vote on an issue passed by the majority of the Board of Education. What would your reaction be in this situation?
So I am someone, I truly value other people's points of views, and I am very aware that, you know, there's differences in opinions, and I actually find value in that. And so if there's ever a time where, you know, I am casting a minority vote or vice versa, I would just be very respectful and continue to serve and do my duties as is laid out.
Thanks. All right. As a Board of Education member, you will receive input from people representing special groups or interests. How do you plan to use this information in the decision-making process?
Sure. So I think it's important to just be considerate of all people and their experiences. I know that I and myself only have my own experiences that I can go off of, and so I value just other people's thoughts, and I think that's necessary. And so how do I plan to use this information? I would do my best to be considerate of all the sides.
Thank you. In your opinion, what should be the relationship between the Board of Education and Superintendent of Schools?
So it's my understanding that the Board of Education has their listed roles and responsibilities, and the superintendent has his. And so in my opinion, I feel that that relationship works best when everyone's functioning in their roles, and the superintendent is tending to the day-to-day things of the district, and the school board oversees the superintendent.
Thank you so much.
What do you think are the most pressing challenges facing the school district of Beloit, and what do you think the board should do to address these challenges?
So again, we're coming off of a real rough year, and I think some of the most pressing challenges in light of that, in relation to the students, is, you know, they have emotional needs and educational needs. So the board, you know, can just be making sure that the district, we're providing any kind of supplemental education that they need to make up for any loss from the last year. And I think, you know, just continuing to focus on how we can help the students achieve and achieve academically, and just, you know, listening to the community and the parents of what they think are the most pressing challenges, and then how do you think that what do you think the board should do to address these challenges? I think the board, it works best when everyone's working together and collaborating, and so I guess just making sure we're all presenting our thoughts together and not one person, their thought, trying to make that the thing, but working as a team. Yeah.
Okay, this is a little lengthy. You have it. I just saw that. I was going to offer to repeat if needed, but that won't be necessary. Are you able to commit to a minimum of 2 nights per month for board meetings and possibly extra days for special meetings? Are you comfortable with reading documents thoroughly for comprehension, sometimes on a short time frame, and arriving at meetings fully prepared to professionally engage and execute the business of the school district of Beloit? And in conclusion, how do you plan to manage your schedule to make that happen?
Yes, I am able to commit to a minimum of 2 nights and any extra meetings that may be necessary. I am comfortable with reading documents thoroughly for comprehension, even on a short time frame. I am pretty honest if I don't understand something when I'm trying to read it, and so I'm sure I can ask for clarification or reach out for further clarification on that. And arriving at meetings fully prepared. I am ready and willing to do that. How do you plan to manage your schedule to make this happen? I believe between my husband and myself, and some other people who, if I need childcare or anything, I have people who can help me with that. And so I'd say I'm all set to manage that and make that a reality.
Or bring them, as I have this evening. Thank you so much.
That works too.
I was going to say, I'm going to need some phone numbers for these childcare people. No. All right, perfect. Thank you so much. And then, did you have any questions for us or any parting thoughts?
Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you so much for being here this evening.
Yep.
All right. Everybody ready for round 2? Fantastic. All right, Mr. Schneider, if you'd like to come have a seat at the mic. All right, welcome this evening, Mr. Schneider, and thank you so much for taking the time. If you could please tell us a little bit about yourself, your education, work experience, and any other information you'd like to share, and tell us why you should be appointed as a member of the Board of Education.
Okay. Greg Schneider. I've been married to my wife, Susan Adams, for 26 years. I have 40 years of experience in education from 3 different school districts in Wisconsin and 1 in North Carolina. And so with that experience comes a lot of knowledge with education and background. I'm one that's always been a little more progressive with education. I mean, if we keep doing the same thing we've been doing, we keep getting the same results. And it's not what we need here in Beloit. So we need to look at how do we change that and how do we move forward. I have watched or participate here in person or virtually the school board for 3 years. I don't think I've missed any meeting that I haven't watched or seen to do that. And so I'm very well acquainted with the operations and the function of the school board. in education, I've gone anywhere from the classroom teacher to a program coordinator or program manager or a transition specialist, and I did spend a year as supervisor of special education here in Beloit. I think all of those experiences make me a good candidate for the position on the school board.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mr. Schneider. Again, thank you for
Okay.
your interest and for joining us this evening. I appreciate it. So my question is, how else are you engaged in our community? And is any of your experience relevant to serving on the board?
I am deeply involved within the community. One is that I started as an employee of the school district and the steering committee of a program called Mercy Health Janesville Project Search. And from the start of that, and I'm currently still on the board. I started as the chair of the steering committee for many years until I retired, and then it was somebody else took over as chair. And Project Search is working with a number of different agencies that provide services to students for gaining employment, and working with a number, I think we're somewhere around 9 different school districts are part of the consortium. So it's working with many different school districts and administrations in order to keep the program running. So again, it's working with and collaborating with a large number of people to make progress and to improve the future of the students. I'm also on the Aging and Disabilities Resource Center of Rock County's Advisory Board. I am a docent and the board member of the Friends of Beckman Mill. I am a ordained clergy as a deacon in the Episcopal Church here in Beloit. I'm on the Creation Care Committee for Province 4 and 5. I mean, the Episcopal Church in the United States is divided into provinces, and each of them are 5 or 6 states. And so this is a large group of that as we look at creation care. And my wife and I are on the team writing a curriculum at this point. So we will be finishing that one shortly, hopefully. I'm a member of and the webmaster for the League of Women Voters of Beloit. I'm a member of Kiwanis. I'm on the Immigration Task Force of Beloit. I'm a member of the NAACP and on the NAACP Education Committee. I'm part of the Poor People's Campaign, both national and state. And so those are just the majority or the larger activities that I'm part of in the community. So I do meet with a lot of people throughout the community frequently. And through my employment here as working with employers in the community. So I'm very familiar with many of those individuals and with the city of Beloit.
Thank you.
In some situations, you may be asked to accept a reality that is contrary to your own beliefs. As a Board of Education member, you may cast a minority vote on an issue passed by the majority of the Board of Education. What would your reaction be in this situation?
Well, I mean, personally, I think it'd be a feeling of disappointment. I mean, that's everybody who's got a point of view is going to feel that way. But it is the decision of the board, and whatever the decision of the board is, that's the way we're moving forward, and that's something that I would have to support and to pursue, and to be honest with everybody that's where the board is moving at that point.
Thank you. As a Board of Education member, you will receive input from people representing special groups or interests. How do you plan to use this information in the decision-making process?
Well, all the information that you gather is important as you look at the community of Beloit and the different opinions that are here. So all of those points of view are something that we need to think about as we work with the decision-making process. So any information I get, any special interest group or from anybody else, it's making note of that. and knowing that that is the opinions that are out there. And all of those things then become part of the discussion and part of the decision-making process.
Thank you very much. Next question. In your opinion, what should be the relationship between the Board of Education and Superintendent of Schools?
Well, the Board of Education is the supervisor of the superintendent. That aside, I think there has to be a close working relationship between the superintendent and the Board of Education. And working together is the only way that we can continue to move the school district forward to what it needs to be in the future.
Thank you so much.
What do you think are the most pressing challenges facing the school district of Beloit? And what do you think the board should do to address these challenges?
I think the two biggest challenges we have right now form around the attendance and achievement scores in the school district. Now, I think there are a lot of different things that fall behind those or that support those issues that we need to look at. Part of that is the board looking and talking with the community to find out the level of support of parents for the schools. And some of that is thinking about and listening to what their experience was in school. If they had a bad experience in school, it's very difficult for them to really support their child to continue with school or to be well engaged with it. So looking at the attendance, the belief of the parents are all things to begin to focus on and think about, and then how do we turn that around? I mean, the schools now are not what they were when the parents were in school. I mean, they can't be the same way going forward. So how do we engage parents with that? That will help improve the attendance, which can then also then improve some of the test scores that are there. I think the more that we can engage students in curriculum and the activities they have, the more likely they will engage and have better scores to go with that. And a lot of that is making sure that they see people like themselves in the classroom and in the buildings and in the curriculum. Typically in the past, when I went to school, it was all white males that wrote the curriculum, and that's pretty much what was there. Well, that's not what we see in the classrooms. So the curriculum has to change to show, all the different cultures and the different people that we have within our school system.
All right, next question. Are you able to commit to a minimum of 2 nights a week for board meetings and possibly extra days for special meetings? Are you comfortable with reading documents thoroughly for comprehension, sometimes on a short time frame, and arriving at meetings fully prepared to professionally engage and execute the business of the school district of Beloit? And finally, how do you plan to manage your schedule to make this happen?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, for the last 3 years, I have either participated with the school board either in person or virtually. So those evenings are already blocked out of my calendar, as they have always been important to pay attention to what is happening. Other special nights, the school board would become a priority on the calendar. So if a meeting comes up, in most cases, I can't guarantee in every case, but in most cases, the board would take the priority for that evening's time frame. Reading documents and carefully for the material that's there has been part of my career for 40 years. I've read a lot of government documents, which are often sometimes confusing to read. I've been able to decipher and read those. You know, I strive hard to make sure I'm always prepared for any meeting that I go to. And so it would be reading all of those documents ahead of time, making notes on questions that I have, something I may not understand, questions I want to ask others, you know, and my point of view. So it's reading all of those ahead of time.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for taking the time. Did you have any other questions for us or parting words or thoughts?
Not at this time, just that I'm really looking forward to joining you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you both so much again for your interest. Let me just jump over to the agenda. So that concludes item 2A, which brings us to item 2B, which is the appointment. Nope. Nope. Oh, right, because I'm sorry, and I misread, speaking of reading comprehension. So item 2A, to complete it out, this is, sorry, the voting and decision is encompassed in item 2A, so that does not conclude item 2A. Sorry about that. Okay, so continuing then, item 2A, we're going to make our decision, I guess, if we can, I was just going to say if we have anything to talk about, or if we need a few minutes to deliberate, or if we're ready to vote. It looks like Dr. Keyser is handing us some ballots here. So I will put that out to our board members. Vice President Levy, Board Member Levy, any thoughts, discussion?
I'm good.
I see writing utensils in hand. Okay. Do you want to, I guess we'll hand these to Dr. Keyser, who will take them over to Ms. Dooley. I know. Well, thank you for reminding us about reading comprehension tonight, Board Member Levy.
That's what I'm here for.
As a reading teacher, I appreciate that. Sorry, drop everything. Dr. Keyser, do you want our notes as well? Okay. Oh, you can just email yours in, right? Yes. That's right. Well, thank you so much, Ms. Dooley. At this time, if you'd like to read the results.
Okay, thank you, Board President. The results show unanimously that Greg Snyder was selected.
Thank you very much, and congratulations, Mr. Schneider, and thank you very much, Ms. Raleigh, for your interest. And as I mentioned earlier, we will have 2 more vacant seats to fill, and I think that we'll have to address that at our next business meeting.
Yes, we'll put that on the next agenda item and then I'll lay out the timelines with that.
Perfect. All right, so we'll stay tuned for future timelines and processes there. But for the moment, congratulations, Mr. Schneider. Before we leave item 2B here, I just also want to point out that for our next meeting, we'll have to have an organizational meeting then to appoint, we have a vacancy for board clerk and board treasurer that need to be filled, and we'll have to just reconsider committees. So we'll have to add that to our next business meeting, which I believe is the 21st. Is that right?
Correct. On the 21st, we'll add that.
Can add that.
You and I will connect.
Sounds
and
great.
Setting the agenda.
Okay, do any other board, before we adjourn, any other thoughts or questions? Go ahead.
We need to move to 2B and then motion to appoint.
Sounds good. Okay, so the recommended action here is I'm looking for a motion then to appoint one of the candidates who interviewed to the vacancy position on the board. Anybody like to make a motion?
So I move to appoint Mr. Greg Schneider to the vacant position on the board. He will be filling for former board member Stephanie Jacobs.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, motion and a second to appoint Mr. Schneider to the vacancy left by board member Jacobs or treasurer Jacobs. Any other discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Congratulations again. So without any other thoughts or questions then, we're going to move to adjourn. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. All right, that concludes our special meeting. And we are ready to hop over to the next one. It is 6:53, and at this time, I'd like to call our Human Resources Committee meeting to order. Ms. Dooley, may I have a roll call?
Sorry, yes. Amy Levy,
Here.
Greg Levy,
Sure.
I'm sorry, Sean Levy,
Present.
Megan Miller,
Present.
and Spencer Anderson, who's absent.
Thank you very much. At this time, I would accept a motion to approve our agenda.
I just have, okay. So there's one small issue. So Employee Recs Exhibit B and the interview report are labeled correctly on the document, but they're crisscrossed in the saving of the document. Does that make sense? So the interview
Yes.
panel report is saved as employee, okay, thank you.
I'll correct that naming.
All right, thank you. All right, motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. All right, motion passes unanimously, which brings us to item 1D, approval of the minutes.
I move approval of the HR committee minutes for Tuesday, August 17th, 2021.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so at this time, we are on section number 2. I would, if we need to, entertain a motion to go into closed session at this time.
So I have some questions that are fine for open, and then I do have one concern for closed. So if I could start with open.
Please do. Yes, thank you.
Perfect, thank you. So I'm looking at Employee Recommendations, Exhibit A, the first page. Just a few questions. There are 9 individuals who are listed as 1 year due to current license status. So I just want to make sure, do we know if all of those students are enrolled in approved EdTPA coursework to get those license cleared up? Are there different or varying reasons for that 1 year stipulation? Are we aware of the status for each of those?
Yes, sorry, I'm not used to sitting at the table versus standing at the podium. So, yes, those individual license statuses, before we put them on the board recommendations, I have the HR staff verify on DPI that they are eligible for the license, and in many cases, they are already in a program. They've submitted their program documents to us and applied for the license with DPI. I will say some of these, for example, the Spanish positions, a lot of those are because they have an ESL license or they have a regular education license, and they just need that certification because we had shortages that we were filling those positions. But they are all enrolled in programs.
Perfect. Thank you so much for clarifying that. If no one else had questions on Exhibit A, I have a couple on Exhibit B, or I can yield the floor if others have open session questions for Exhibit A.
Sure. Are there any other questions or thoughts at this time?
I have none.
Me neither. Take it away, Board Member Levy.
All right, perfect. So for Exhibit A under coaches, thank you for putting the current years of experience. That makes it easy to go left, right, up, and down on the matrix to make sure that we're arriving at the correct number. For both the freshman football coach and the JV football coach, these positions don't appear on the matrix. They have varsity coach, they have head coach, assistant coach, and then I think it says middle school, which would be our intermediate equivalent. So I'm wondering how we came up with these numbers. And so for example, the 1840, for both of those, this is the amount for a middle school coach with 5 to 6 years experience. And both of them are being listed as 0 years experience. So I'm just wondering how we arrived at that number.
Okay, for like freshman coaches, and I'm sorry, I have an old version that was reposted, so I don't have the one right in front of me, I apologize. But the freshman coaches, where it says freshman head coach, those should be equivalent to the assistant coaches. So we have one head coach, and then like a JV head coach or a freshman head coach are considered assistant coaches.
So the only issue with that is under football for assistant coach with step 1, which is 0 years, which is what they are listed as having. The amount is $2,484. And again, the amount that we have listed is for a middle school coach at step 4, which is 5 to 6 years experience.
I'm going to need that. Like I said, I have the wrong one. If I can take 1 minute, I would be happy to go pull that.
No problem.
If it's helpful, I can email the matrix to Ms. Dooley and maybe she could project it. Will that work? Okay.
I can just grab my computer as well. I'll be right back.
Thank you, Ms. Dooley.
Okay, both of those individuals, as indicated on there, are prorated. They did not start their program until 8/23, when it was, the normal season started before that. So what they have done is taken that assistant with 0 years, divided by the number of days in the season, and prorated it to when they actually started. So that's the calculation that they would be using.
And, okay, so it would be helpful to have that information included, so that we know what the numbers should be. Do you have that calculation?
Well, they indicated on there that it's prorated. That's usually how we do that. I can go forward and have the days put on there, but it's the same proration. It's the same way we indicate it on our personnel recommendations for salaries, that we just prorate to the day they started. So we have not reported that in the past of how many days. We just simply say it's a prorated amount, and we would figure that proration the same way we would prorate salaries on how many days you actually work.
So it's just a coincidence that it's the exact same number for a middle school coach at step 4, which is 5 to 6 years experience. I just want to make sure that we are arriving at, that people can expect and know what their pay will be for their commitment, and that it's reproducible, independent of person. That's my main goal.
Yep, absolutely. And that is communicated to the employee when they accept it, when we tell them what the addendum salary is going to be. It's explained, this is the full rate, and it's prorated to these days, and this is the amount that you'll get. And they sign that addendum when they're issued that. So we give them that context.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I guess my final open session question for this is there a reason that these positions don't appear on our new matrix? Again, for football, there's the option for head coach, assistant coach, and middle school coach. If we could just change that to intermediate, just to be reflective of the district we are in. Is there a reason like freshman coach or JV coach are not included on there? Or if it needs to be added to the assistant coach line? Just so again, when we know we're looking at the matrix, this is what the amount should be.
I can have that conversation with Mr. Beard. Typically, the JVs and freshman coaches are all assistants at the varsity level, so it's geared from the varsity squad down. So they roll up under as an assistant, but I will have that conversation with Mr. Beard to provide some clarity.
Perfect, thank you. And then my final question for open session. I see that there are 2 leadership mentors assigned to the same person for $10,000 and $15,000. So I just want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. And all of this is publicly published. That's why I'm bringing it up in open. The Board of Education approved a stipend or addendum, I'm not sure the nomenclature we're using, for Ms. Green for $10,000 on August 17th. Am I correct in understanding that this stipend or addendum before us this evening is for another $15,000? So if approved, would total a distribution of $25,000?
Correct. For full-time coaching, it has been historically $10,000 as a flat yearly rate, which is meeting weekly with the individual. We have 3 principals that Ms. Green will be mentoring and coaching. 2 are brand new, and 1 is been with the district as an assistant principal. And so in the conversations with that individual, Ms. Green and myself, they agreed that it would only be about half as much time dedicated. So that's the result in half the addendum.
Perfect. So just for clarification, if approved this evening, that would be a total distribution to one person of $25,000?
Correct.
Thank you so much.
So I have a question also.
Go ahead, please.
At this time, is there another leadership mentor? Let's say if there was a 4th principal, are you selecting other people, or is it just that because I know that former administrators have served as leadership mentors, but is there a possibility that there would be a fourth individual assigned to the current leadership mentor?
That is correct. I'm always looking, we have in this district had a long history of providing our new head principals with mentor coaches, and at one point there were 3. We are back down to 1, and I have actually been reaching out to some others we do have a 4th new principal, and so I've been reaching out to secure a coach mentor for that individual. And I am always looking, and I say this to the public, please email me if you have individuals that would be good administrator coach mentors, so that I could replenish our ranks and be able to do a match between the coach mentor and the administrator.
Thank you. Are there other questions, comments at this time for open session? All right, hearing none. If somebody does have anything for closed session, this would be a good time to make a motion.
So I move to convene the Human Resources Committee in closed session pursuant to Section 19.85, Parent 1, Parent C of the Wisconsin State Statute, relative to considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of a public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. At this time, could we please get a roll call vote, Ms. Dooley?
Yes. Sean Levy?
Aye.
Megan Miller?
Aye.
Amy Levy?
Aye.
All right, at this time, we are convening into closed session. We'll take a brief recess, and it looks like we will be back after closed session, unless we want to just sneak out our next meeting date now.
I think we need to come back.
Yeah, we'll have to come back. So, all right, see you in a bit. All right, it is 7:53. We are back in open session for the Human Resources Committee. At this time, would anybody like to make a motion regarding the employment recommendations?
I move approval of employee recommendation A and B minus the leadership mentor assignment.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Vice President Levy, would you like to second? All right, so last call for a second. Okay, so that motion's not going to go forward. Would anybody like to make another motion for Employment Recs Exhibit A and B?
I move that we accept employment recs A and B.
Thank you. Is there a second? Okay, I'll second. Any discussion? Yeah, the motion is to approve the employment recommendations, Exhibit A and B. Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Thank you. Motion passes 2-1. And I believe that concludes Section 2, unless, I don't think there's really anything else to move on there. All right, so that takes us to item 3A, the next meeting date. So our next business meeting will be held on Tuesday, September 21st at 6:30 p.m. Is there any other business that we need to conduct this evening for Human Resources Committee? All right, hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. All in favor to adjourn, please say aye.
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 Aye. All right, motion passes. Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening.